We were captivated by the Maine coast just like everybody else who comes to Maine. And I had been to Maine for summers. I worked at a campground near Acadia for 5 years after I retired from public school. So we were looking in Bath and all along and Wiscasset and places, and then I got a phone call from my partner Martha saying, there's this place called Gardiner. And I went downtown, and of course I went on Water Street, which is such an absolutely beautiful downtown from a historic perspective. And I called up Martha and I said, this is it. This is Bedford Falls. Elms predominate among the many state.
I met Robert here at the library. He came in to research his new home here, his new old home here in Gardiner, and he started volunteering at the library. He started volunteering with other things going on downtown. I became aware of all these things through hearing things from him. His passion for my town rubbed off on me. And I don't actually live in Gardiner anymore, but I work here and I am committed to its betterment, and I see it in a whole new light.
Gardiner was just beginning to think of itself as something more than a factory town that had lost all its mills. So I got in the middle of Heart and Soul, which is the Orton Family Foundation. Gardiner had bought into that program, and it engages the entire community in dialogue about what they wish to be doing in their community, what they would like their community to become. It ended up with a comprehensive plan from the city council with all these ideas. Gardiner Main Street grew out of it in strength. And so I got involved in Johnson Hall. Johnson Hall is 155 years old. It's Maine's oldest surviving opera house. It was a mess. It was all torn apart upstairs. It was falling in. There were things that couldn't be used properly. It was unsafe. So that was our job, was to get rid of all the refuse and the plaster and the lath and the building debris so that architects could look at the historic opera house, so that structural engineers could look at all the fire damage over the years and say, yeah, this is bad, or but that's not so bad. And then they gave us permission to start using the old opera house, a little at a time. The fate of this downtown is tied, its economics is tied to things like having a theater that would attract people from all over New England. And they do. Already we see people coming from all over New England for shows. Nobody does everything well, but some people do. Everybody is capable of doing some things in an exemplary way.
He was organized and he brought people together, and he took their ideas, heard what they were saying, put together a plan, and got people moving and motivated and engaged, and it hasn't stopped.
Gardeners is part of Streetscape, which is what we call the design team in the 4-point approach. We call it Streetscape because most of it is on the street. This fountain, I used to walk by it on my way to town, and it was full to the brim with leaves, garbage, limbs, debris, plastic bags, anything you can imagine. It had been used basically as a waste can. So I just said, you know, what if we just cleaned it out and found a pump and tried it up? And they said, oh, sure. But they found a pump, and Public Works is very helpful and very supportive. They hooked it up. The first year it wasn't painted, it was awful looking. But when they turned it on, it did this.
It's uplifting to see these little ideas come to fruition all around town. You're committed, you believe in it, and you're engaged with it, and we're all part of this together.